a trip to my.
Yo, what is up guys, it's Stoops here, and today I wanted to bring you guys an updated class setup video. Ever since the ASM1 got buffed back a couple months ago, I never made a new setup video, so all my classes were like battles and stuff like that. So with my first ASM1 class, this is kind of like just the standard rush class that you want to be using, as the overclock and the mute, which is kind of necessary. And one thing that's really critical about this class is using lightweight instead of overcharged, because with the ASM1 you're going to be generally running around more, so lightweight will really be towards your advantage, instead of just the extra 15 seconds of mute. But just in case you're not comfortable with the ASM1 still, this is the standard battle class I'd use. It's the only difference between this and the ASM1 is that, of course, it has the battle, and it has the overcharge instead of lightweight, because with overcharge you actually get 15 seconds of extra mute, and you also get some extra overclock, which is nice as well. And with the battle, you're just generally playing a little bit slower too, so don't really need lightweight as much as you would need it for the ASM1. And one thing that's really good about this class compared to other people's classes is that it doesn't have the red dot. It has just a 3 quick draw, grip, and stock. No red dot, since red dot's kind of a waste. But if you were to use red dot, I recommend like replacing grip. And instead of using the red dot, actually like the red dot sight, I'd recommend using the target enhancing sight, and then changing the reticle to the horizontal one by just pressing Y when you're on top of it, and then you can choose any of these reticles. And it's actually really helpful. It's pretty much, it's better than, it's like a tracker sight of like COD Ghost or something like that, except for it highlights some red instead of orange. So that's pretty sick. And then my Physrp class, this is pretty much Physrp's exact class setup. I love this class though. One thing that I'm not very good with is the frag though. Sometimes I like to use a stun instead of a frag. And one thing you could change if you're playing singles or doubles or something like that is switching over to the mute instead of the overclock. But I usually just like using overclock and TL and stuff like that, just so I can get to pre-snipes faster, and maybe even rush if I like put away my sniper. And I use lightweight on this class just so I can get to pre-snipes faster, so I can just maneuver the map more, since the only time I really use the sniper is for picks, and just generally, like, if I see someone really far away, I'll just whip out the sniper quick and, like, black scope them or something like that. And the 2 attachments you should be running on this class is quick draw and advanced rifling, but if you're not comfortable with the ASM1's recoil, I've gotten used to it personally without grip, but you're going to want to use the grip instead. And then for my next class, I have the MLG class, and with my old class, I used to have Cloak on it, but that's banned now, so you can't use Cloak or Stim. So I just use mute on this. I don't use this class anymore, much more though, because Cloak got banned, and that's really annoying to use, or not to. It's not annoying not to have Cloak, since you're really easy to get picked with the MLG, since it's kind of outclassed by a sniper. But I see people running instead of quick draw, I see them running advanced rifling, which really is unnecessary on the MLG, and the quick draw grip actually zooms it in 50% faster, so it's a massive increase to the MLG aim down sights. And then I have my standard pre-snipe class with the bow. Note how I use lightweight on this class instead of overcharge. That's really the only big difference on this one. And then these are the classes I use sometimes, but they're more off-meta classes. So I have my hover class. Hover class. Make sure you're using overcharge instead of lightweight, because that extra couple seconds of hover really helps. And I'm going to be making a video probably later this week about just some insane hover spots and just some tips, general tips for hovering, since I don't see many people using it, but it's so useful in SnD, it's ridiculous. Even hardpoint, it's really useful if you just hover inside the hardpoint, like in Biolab, you can hover in lab and stuff. And then this is my respawn class pretty much. The only respawn class I ever use, this is more for like an uplink type of thing, because you can either use EMPs or stuns, maybe even Semtex if you want, but overclock, you could change overclock to trophy. And then hardwire instead of blast suppressor. You can honestly go either way, but I like hardwire just so you don't get stunned as much. And then no perk 2, since it's really unnecessary. The only thing that you're going to be using it is the EMP, since you're using overclock. If you're going to be using trophy though, I'd recommend to take off overcharge and then just put on fast hands and then put on another nade or something like that. And then lightweight so you can run faster, of course, and then just a standard ASM1 grip, quick draw, and advanced rifling. And then this is my pre-nade class. I don't use this too much since I don't really nade on our team that much. Wiltgen is the main nader on our team. He hit some absolutely insane nades on recovery. He's actually hit 2 triple nades in 3v3 matches on recovery, which is it gets us absolutely hyped. You can either go with frags or Semtex on this class. I personally use frags. Usually off the rip, I just throw them straight up, kind of towards their spawn, and hope that hits someone. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Danger close isn't necessary, but if you're not going to go with danger close, I'd recommend going with overcharged. And another thing, you could go with overclock on this, just so you can get to nade spots faster, but since I usually just throw them right off the rip, there's really no reason to be using overclock, since mute's actually really helpful. And then this is a more off-meta class too. I have my IMR class. I don't really use this that much since I have pretty bad connection, so I don't get that many one bursts or anything like that. And in general, it's just hard for me to be accurate with the IMR. Note how I don't use stock on this class at all. I see a lot of people using stock, and stock just really, it messes up your shot at long range because you have to hit like pretty much all 4 bullets at long range to get a one burst kill. I don't even think you can get one burst kills at really, really long ranges, but just to get more shots landed, you're going to be using quick draw and grip instead of the stock. And you could also take off the red dot for something like laser sight, just so you have that close range advantage. And then I have overcharge on this class. You could go overcharge or lightweight. And then I have mutes. Just if you're going to be using lightweight, use overclock, and if you're going to be using overcharge, use mute. That's what I'd recommend, since that 15 seconds of mute helps tremendously. And then semtaxes, you could either go semtaxes or stuns on this one, maybe even EMP nades. They're all 3 of those options are really nice. And even threat nades, like threat nades for pushing out the green at A-bomb on Detroit on offense is really helpful since it just lights them up like a firecracker. Or Christmas tree, I should say. And then this is another off-meta class. The only time I ever use this class is for when I'm rushing Detroit, the B-bomb site on offense. You just push right through lab into purple and then usually catch them off guard since they'll usually be trying to turn the corner on you. I use a semtex on this class instead of a frag or a stun because it just weighs you just to point and aim and doesn't take any cooking time. That's why I'd recommend the stun sometimes too, but it's kind of annoying to do the whole double tapping thing as well. And lightweight's really critical in this class instead of overcharged because just getting to those like quick rush spots faster, and that's why I also have overclock. And then I have I have 2 attachments to my TAC-19 like instead of my ASM1. Because I personally use the TAC-19, like I'll just roam with the TAC-19 more, and advanced rifling helps tremendously with the TAC-19, and then laser sight, of course, since shotguns are already kind of inaccurate in this game, laser sight helps a ton to get those one and done kills. Since if you have to put more than 2 shots into them, you're probably going to lose the gunfight with the TAC-19, that's what I've learned at least. And then fast hands is pretty big on this class, just so you can switch from the TAC-19 and ASM1 really fast. And then you could either go advanced rifling or quick drip. I personally, quick draw grip. I personally recommend quick draw, just so you win more close range engagements. The only thing is you'll get shafted at longer ranges since your 3 shot range will be way smaller with the ASM1 without advanced rifling. Well, anyways, this has been my new class setup videos. Thanks, I'll see you guys in the next video.